Ladies and gentlemen, beloved brothers and sisters in faith, I want you to take a deep breath and open your hearts, because today is not just another moment in time. Today is the moment where hope meets expectation, where God's promise of a new beginning stirs within your spirit, and where the ordinary can transform into the extraordinary. You may have faced seasons of waiting, seasons of pain, or seasons that felt like they would never end. But I want to assure you that every tear, every delay, every challenge you have endured has been carefully woven into God's plan for your life. Imagine for a moment that the very things that seem to hold you back, your mistakes, your disappointments, your unanswered prayers, were actually preparing you for a breakthrough that is bigger than anything you have ever imagined. Picture a door before you, a door that God Himself has been opening, a door that leads to a season of restoration, joy, and divine favor. What if I told you that the waiting, the struggle, and even the silence you've experienced were not signs that God had forgotten you, but proof that He has been quietly preparing a perfect new beginning? I invite you to set aside every doubt, every worry, and every fear, and listen with your spirit, because today we are going to journey together through a message of hope, faith, and divine revelation. We will explore the truth that your past cannot limit your future, that endings are not the end, but a hidden doorway to your destiny, and that God is already moving to lead you into the life He has prepared for you. This is not a story of chance, it is a story of purpose. It is not about luck, it is about God's perfect timing. So stay with me, open your hearts wide, and prepare to see your life through the lens of God's promises. By the end of this message, I want you to walk away not just encouraged, but empowered, not just hopeful, but fully convinced that God is already moving, already working, and already orchestrating a new beginning for you. A beginning that will surpass every expectation, every dream, and every plan you have ever held. Keep your hearts ready, because what you are about to hear is not just words, it is a spiritual invitation to embrace the extraordinary life God has been preparing for you. The new beginning is here. Are you ready to receive it? When God begins a new chapter in a person's life, He rarely announces it with loud signs or dramatic moments. Instead, He often begins His greatest works in the stillness, where the heart is quiet enough to hear Him. Many people expect new beginnings to arrive with trumpets or sudden miracles, yet Scripture shows a different pattern. God often prepares His children in the gentle spaces, in the hidden hours, in the moments when no one is watching. It is in those seasons of silence that He rearranges thoughts, heals old bruises, and restores what was worn down by past battles. When the heart is calm and humbled, it becomes a place where new seeds of purpose can take root. The quiet is not the absence of activity, it is the workshop where God shapes a believer for what is coming next. Sometimes when life slows down or becomes unexpectedly still, we mistake it for delay or disappointment. We think we have been forgotten, or left behind, or pushed to the side. But what feels like stillness is often divine preparation. God knows that a new beginning demands a new inner strength, and He patiently cultivates that strength before the journey starts. He trims away fear, doubt, and the voices that said we are not enough. He reminds the heart that it is held, guided, and deeply seen. The quiet seasons are His way of lifting the weight of old failures so the soul can rise again with fresh purpose and bold courage. In that gentle silence, God teaches lessons that noise could never deliver. There are moments when God whispers truths into the heart that only stillness can carry. In the quiet, He reveals new ideas, new assignments, and new directions. There is a holy clarity that cannot be received when the mind is crowded with worry, or when life races without pause. The quiet becomes the space where faith grows wings. When God prepares a new beginning, He often draws His child into a place where the world's voices fade and His voice becomes clear. It is there that He unveils the next step, the next instruction, the next promise. What may feel like a season of waiting is actually a season of spiritual tuning, aligning the heart with His will so that nothing is missed when the new door opens. Many of the greatest transformations in the Bible began in quiet places. Moses was alone in the wilderness when God spoke to him. David was watching sheep in hidden fields when God anointed him. Mary was in an ordinary room when the angel greeted her. God's greatest beginnings often arrive gently because He wants the heart to recognize His presence before the journey unfolds. He prepares His children privately so they can stand publicly. He works in silence so that when the new beginning comes, the believer is ready, steady, and anchored in truth. This quiet preparation is a gift, not a punishment. It is God saying, "I am doing something new within you before I do something new around you." People sometimes grow restless in these quiet seasons, longing for quick change or immediate answers. Yet God uses this time to rebuild confidence in Him rather than confidence in circumstances. In the silence, He teaches trust. He teaches dependence. He teaches that His timing is not slow but perfect. When the heart has learned to rest in Him without rushing, it becomes strong enough to walk into the new chapter with calm assurance. A new beginning is not simply a change of situation. It is a change of spirit, and that change often starts where no one can see. So when life becomes still, when routines feel empty, or when God's voice seems faint, it does not mean He has stopped working. It often means He is doing His deepest work. He is cleaning the inner room, preparing it for new vision, new joy, and new strength. The quiet becomes the birthplace of God's next miracle, and those who learn to embrace it will find themselves ready when God finally says, "Now step forward into the new thing I have prepared for you." Many believers carry the weight of their past as if it defines the limits of their future. They remember failures, missed opportunities, bad choices, and broken dreams, and they allow those memories to cloud their hope. Yet the truth is that nothing in your past can overpower the power of God's plan for your life. Every mistake, every delay, every disappointment is under His sovereign control, and He can turn it all into stepping stones toward the purpose He has designed for you. When you understand this, your perspective shifts from fear and regret to faith and expectation. The past loses its power when you place your trust in the one who writes new stories every day. God's mercy has a way of rewriting narratives that seem ruined. It is not constrained by what you have done or what has been done to you. Even the most painful seasons, when surrendered to Him, can become instruments of blessing. The failures that once made you feel small can now teach wisdom. The hurts that left scars can now remind you of resilience. The losses that brought tears can now point toward greater joy. God does not simply erase the past, He transforms it. He takes the experiences that seemed wasted and infuses them with purpose, showing that every moment has contributed to the shaping of a life that is ready for something new and extraordinary. Many struggle because they believe that their past defines their worth. They carry guilt, shame, and regret as heavy burdens, thinking that these will follow them forever. But God is not limited by human timelines or human judgment. He sees your life as a whole, and He has the power to redeem every fragment. The past does not disqualify you from blessings. It does not cancel your calling. It does not erase the promises He has whispered into your heart. In fact, the very challenges you faced may have prepared you for the new season you are about to enter. Every mistake has a lesson, and every failure has a hidden seed of triumph planted by God's hand. When God plans a new beginning, He often does so in a way that the past no longer holds dominion. Imagine a book where the earlier chapters were difficult and painful, filled with struggles and setbacks, but the final chapters shine with victory, purpose, and fulfillment. That is how God works in the lives of those who trust Him. The earlier chapters, no matter how hard, are not wasted. They are necessary to the fullness of the story. God takes what the enemy meant for harm and transforms it into a testimony of His faithfulness. He reminds us that what looks like a dead end is often the launching pad for something far greater than we could have imagined. Believers must also understand that divine timing and perspective make the difference between despair and hope. While humans look at the past and see failure, God looks and sees preparation, refinement, and readiness for a higher purpose. What felt like delay or punishment was actually a season of shaping, molding, and equipping. God's eyes are not on your mistakes, they are on your potential, your obedience, and your willingness to move forward in faith. When you internalize this truth, your past loses its grip. You no longer live in regret, you live in expectation, knowing that God is faithful to bring about the new beginning that aligns with His plan. Forgiveness, both from God and within your own heart, becomes essential to stepping into this new season. Holding on to past mistakes keeps you tied to what was, but releasing it allows you to embrace what God is doing now. Your past cannot cancel your future, and God's power is sufficient to make your next chapter brighter than any chapter that came before. Every ending, every failure, every setback is under His control, and He is ready to turn them into the building blocks of a new life marked by purpose, hope, and victory. Understanding this truth allows a believer to walk boldly, leaving behind what was and embracing what God has prepared. Life often presents endings that feel painful, unexpected, or even unfair. Jobs may be lost, relationships may fail, seasons of waiting may stretch longer than anticipated, and dreams may seem to vanish before they can fully form. In these moments, it is natural for the heart to resist and for the mind to question why. Yet endings are not always what they appear to be. Many times, what seems like a door closing is actually God's way of making room for something far greater. Every ending carries within it a hidden doorway, a divine invitation to step into a new beginning that is richer, stronger, and more aligned with God's purpose. What feels like loss is often the very clearing God is orchestrating to bring forth blessing. When God closes a chapter, He does so with intention and vision. It may not make sense immediately, and it may challenge every expectation you have held, but there is a divine plan at work. Human perception is limited. We see only the immediate circumstances, the pain and the confusion. God sees the larger picture, the unseen connections, and the future He is preparing. He knows that holding on to what is no longer aligned with His plan can hinder the arrival of what is meant to flourish. He gently leads His children through endings so that the ground can be cleared for new seeds of purpose, joy, and fulfillment to grow. Endings are also transformative. They create space for spiritual growth, for renewal of faith, and for a deeper reliance on God's wisdom. When a familiar season ends, it forces the believer to confront dependencies, habits, or expectations that no longer serve the divine plan. Through endings, God refines patience, builds resilience, and strengthens trust. The experience of loss can awaken a deeper understanding of His faithfulness. When a chapter closes, it is not merely the end of what was, it is a moment in which God shapes readiness for the new. Those who embrace endings with faith discover that the pain is temporary, but the growth and clarity it brings can be everlasting. It is important to recognize that endings often signal preparation for abundance. The removal of certain circumstances is not punishment. It is a deliberate act of divine orchestration to make space for new blessings. A closed door may seem discouraging, but it can redirect you to paths that you could not have accessed otherwise. God's plans are always greater than human expectations. When a relationship ends, a career path shifts, or a season concludes, He is not abandoning His people. He is positioning them to receive something far beyond what they have imagined. Every ending is a precursor to a new opportunity, and those who trust in God's timing find that He turns what appeared to be loss into provision, purpose, and divine favor. Faith becomes essential in navigating endings. It is not enough to recognize that endings are part of God's plan. One must also trust that the hidden doorway leads somewhere good. Doubt, fear, and regret can cloud perception, but a heart anchored in faith understands that God is at work even when the path seems unclear. Faith allows believers to walk through endings with courage, knowing that the discomfort of change is temporary and that God's promise of a new beginning is secure. Every challenge, disappointment, or sudden change is an opportunity to experience the depth of God's wisdom and to witness His power in transforming difficulty into blessing. Finally, endings cultivate hope. even when the present feels like darkness. The believer who trusts God knows that light awaits beyond the door that has closed. Every ending carries the potential for something better, something God has specifically designed, and something that aligns with the divine purpose for your life. What was once thought lost can become a foundation for greater success, joy, and fulfillment. Understanding that every ending is a hidden doorway allows believers to face change with anticipation rather than fear, recognizing that God is always at work to lead them into new beginnings that surpass every expectation, every plan, and every human understanding. Transitions in life are rarely easy. They bring uncertainty, shake routines, and challenge the comfort of familiarity. Yet God often uses these seasons of change to reveal clarity and direction that could not have been seen before. When circumstances shift, when doors close, or when life takes unexpected turns, God is at work shaping spiritual vision. These moments may feel uncomfortable, but they are opportunities for the believer to develop discernment, patience, and a deeper understanding of his purposes. What may seem like confusion or chaos is often the preparation needed to see the path clearly and to recognize God's guidance in ways that were previously hidden. Life transitions strip away distractions and force focus on what truly matters. When old structures fall away, when plans are interrupted, or when familiar supports disappear, the believer is confronted with questions that require honest reflection. God uses these moments to illuminate priorities, clarify calling, and refine character. In the stillness and uncertainty of transition, the heart becomes more attentive to his leading. Faith is tested and strengthened, and spiritual insight emerges where there was once only routine. Transitions are God's way of removing what clouds judgment and of sharpening the vision to align more closely with his divine plan. Often, God allows periods of discomfort to cultivate sensitivity to his voice. In times of certainty and ease, it is easy to rely on human understanding or to follow paths that feel safe rather than divinely inspired. But when life changes abruptly, or when the familiar fades, believers must turn inward, seeking guidance beyond what is visible. God teaches the soul to listen, to wait, and to trust in his direction. This attentiveness produces clarity that is not superficial but rooted in spiritual awareness. In every transition, God is inviting his children to see with eyes of faith, to understand beyond immediate circumstances, and to act with confidence in his provision. Transitions also refine patience. They challenge the desire for immediate answers and force reliance on God's timing rather than human schedules. In this waiting, believers grow in endurance, learning to navigate uncertainty without panic or despair. God uses this period to prepare hearts for the responsibilities, blessings, and revelations of the next season. The clarity that emerges during transition is a product of spiritual formation. It comes from reflection, prayer, and attentiveness to his voice. What may have felt like loss or delay is often a critical step in seeing the bigger picture and understanding God's purpose more fully. Furthermore, transitions create opportunities for renewed vision. When old seasons end, new perspectives emerge, allowing believers to see possibilities that were previously hidden. God reveals paths that align with his will, opens doors that were once closed, and provides insight that guides decisions with wisdom and discernment. Spiritual vision cultivated during transition enables believers to distinguish between distractions and opportunities, to recognize God's timing, and to embrace the assignments he sets before them. Without transitions, much of this insight might never be gained, because the comfort of familiarity can obscure the clarity that comes only through change. God's use of transitions also strengthens faith in action. It is one thing to hear promises, it is another to navigate uncertainty with trust. Every change, every season of waiting, every unexpected turn becomes a classroom for faith. The believer learns that spiritual vision is not merely seeing the next step, but trusting God in the process of revelation. Through this trust, the ability to move forward with confidence grows, and obedience becomes a natural response to divine guidance. The clarity and direction that emerge from transitions are gifts of spiritual insight, anchored in a heart attuned to God's purposes, ready to respond with courage, wisdom, and faithfulness. One of the most comforting truths for believers is that they are never truly alone. Even in seasons of uncertainty, change, or challenge, God goes before His children, preparing the way and clearing obstacles that they cannot yet see. He walks alongside them, guiding each step and providing protection, wisdom, and encouragement at precisely the right moments. This assurance of divine presence is a powerful anchor, especially when embarking on a new beginning. No matter how daunting the path may appear, the believer who trusts God can move forward with confidence, knowing that they are accompanied by a power greater than any circumstance, a presence that never fails, and a guide who has perfect knowledge of the journey ahead. Understanding that God goes before us changes the way we approach life's challenges. It removes fear and doubt, replacing them with confidence and hope. When we step into the unknown, the natural tendency is to rely on human understanding, to overplan, or to hesitate out of fear. Yet God's promise to lead and accompany us transforms our perspective. His presence ensures that no step is taken without purpose, no challenge is faced without provision, and no decision is made without wisdom. Believers are called to move forward in faith, trusting that the path has been prepared, that unseen support is already in place, and that divine protection surrounds them at every turn. God's guidance is not limited to physical or material circumstances. It extends deeply into the spiritual, emotional, and relational aspects of life. He positions the right people, opens the right doors, and orchestrates events in ways that human eyes cannot fully comprehend. Sometimes the assistance is visible, such as an opportunity or a mentor, and other times it is subtle, a quiet nudge of intuition, an inner peace, or an unexpected insight. In both forms, God's guidance ensures that the believer is never left to navigate life alone. Recognizing and responding to this presence is essential for stepping into new beginnings with clarity, courage, and readiness to embrace the blessings He has prepared. The promise of accompaniment also provides reassurance during moments of fear or doubt. Life's transitions often bring uncertainty, and it is easy to feel vulnerable or ill-prepared. Yet when believers remember that God goes before them, the anxiety that once paralyzed them loses its grip. They can face challenges with a sense of peace, understanding that divine oversight is greater than any human obstacle. This knowledge allows the heart to remain steadfast, focused, and courageous, even when circumstances appear overwhelming. It cultivates trust, faith, and the ability to move forward with purpose, knowing that every step is aligned with a divine plan. God's presence also works to protect and strengthen the believer in ways that are unseen. He shields from harm, provides insight into potential dangers, and grants strength for tasks that seem impossible. The believer who understands that they are never walking alone learns to rely less on their own strength and more on divine provision. This reliance fosters humility, obedience, and a deeper sense of dependence on God, preparing them for the fullness of the new beginning that awaits. By walking in alignment with His guidance, every decision, action, and step becomes infused with purpose and direction. Finally, the awareness of God's accompaniment transforms the way a believer approaches life's opportunities. It instills confidence to pursue dreams, courage to overcome obstacles, and resilience to withstand trials. Knowing that God has already gone before, clearing the path, gives the believer freedom from fear and doubt. They can move forward with assurance, trusting that they are not alone, that every obstacle has been accounted for, and that divine support accompanies them at every stage of the journey. This knowledge strengthens faith, sharpens vision, and inspires bold action, ensuring that the new beginning God has planned unfolds according to His perfect will and timing. Faith is the bridge between God's promises and their fulfillment, and obedience is the pathway that allows His blessings to manifest in a believer's life. God's plans for new beginnings are always perfectly timed and abundantly prepared, but they often require a response of trust and willingness to follow His lead. The new season God has planned will not always arrive passively or automatically. It requires the believer to actively engage with His guidance, take steps of faith, and respond to His prompting with courage and commitment. Obedience is not merely about rules. It is about aligning the heart with God's purposes so that His blessings can flow unhindered. The believer who chooses to trust and act becomes a co-laborer in the unfolding of God's plan, participating in the manifestation of His promises in ways that are deeply personal and profoundly transformative. Many times the new beginning God has prepared is hidden behind steps that require trust. It may be a decision to move forward when circumstances seem uncertain, to speak a word when silence feels safer, to extend forgiveness when pride tempts resistance, or to embrace change when comfort beckons to remain stagnant. Each act of obedience, no matter how small, signals readiness to receive God's provision. The willingness to follow His guidance demonstrates faith, and faith unlocks what God has already prepared. In this way, obedience is both a key and a catalyst, opening doors that remain closed to those who hesitate or doubt. The blessings of a new beginning are not delayed because God is unwilling. They are delayed until the heart is ready to receive them through active trust and faithful action. Obedience also cultivates spiritual sensitivity, helping the believer discern the specific ways God is leading. When the heart is attuned to His voice, small nudges, subtle impressions, and quiet urgings become clear guides. God does not always reveal the full picture at once. He often asks for trust in the next step before showing the entire path. Each act of obedience reinforces confidence in His timing, builds spiritual maturity, and prepares the believer for greater responsibilities and blessings. Those who step forward in faith, even when the destination is not fully visible, find that God meets them at every stage, providing wisdom, strength, and favor to carry them forward. Trust and obedience also demonstrate humility and surrender. They signal a willingness to release personal agendas, expectations, and reliance on human understanding. By choosing to act in alignment with God's will, the believer acknowledges His authority and guidance, allowing the divine plan to unfold without obstruction. This posture of the heart creates an environment where God's purposes can flourish, where miracles can occur, and where the new beginning is not just a change in circumstances, but a transformation of life, vision, and destiny. Obedience is not passive, it is active engagement with God's plan, a step into partnership with His work, and a demonstration of faith that He is faithful to fulfill what He has promised. The unfolding of God's new beginning is often tied to incremental acts of faith. Each choice to trust, each decision to follow His prompting, and each moment of surrender builds momentum. What may start as a small step of obedience can lead to profound shifts in circumstances, relationships, and opportunities. The believer who embraces this truth learns to act without delay, knowing that every step taken in faith aligns with divine timing and prepares the way for the fullness of God's blessings. Obedience unlocks potential, clears obstacles, and invites God's favor into every area of life that He has designated for transformation. Ultimately, the new beginning that God has prepared is inseparable from the believer's response of faith and obedience. God has already designed the blessings, positioned the opportunities, and arranged the circumstances, but they are activated through trust and action. The believer who chooses to respond faithfully finds that the path forward is illuminated, provision is multiplied, and transformation is complete. Obedience is the key that turns God's promises into lived reality, allowing the believer to walk fully into the new season He has planned, experiencing His power, guidance, and blessing in ways that surpass human expectation and understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, beloved brothers and sisters in faith, I want you to take a deep breath and open your hearts, because today is not just another moment in time. Today is the moment where hope meets expectation, where God's promise of a new beginning stirs within your spirit, and where the ordinary can transform into the extraordinary. You may have faced seasons of waiting, seasons of pain, or seasons that felt like they would never end. But I want to assure you that every tear, every delay, every challenge you have endured has been carefully woven into God's plan for your life. Imagine for a moment that the very things that seem to hold you back, your mistakes, your disappointments, your unanswered prayers, were actually preparing you for a breakthrough that is bigger than anything you have ever imagined. Picture a door before you, a door that God Himself has been opening, a door that leads to a season of restoration, joy, and divine favor. What if I told you that the waiting, the struggle, and even the silence you've experienced were not signs that God had forgotten you, but proof that He has been quietly preparing a perfect new beginning? I invite you to set aside every doubt, every worry, and every fear, and listen with your spirit, because today we are going to journey together through a message of hope, faith, and divine revelation. We will explore the truth that your past cannot limit your future, that endings are not the end but a hidden doorway to your destiny, and that God is already moving to lead you into the life He has prepared for you. This is not a story of chance. It is a story of purpose. It is not about luck. It is about God's perfect timing. So, stay with me, open your hearts wide, and prepare to see your life through the lens of God's promises. By the end of this message, I want you to walk away not just encouraged, but empowered. Not just hopeful, but fully convinced that God is already moving, already working, and already orchestrating a new beginning for you. A beginning that will surpass every expectation, every dream, and every plan you have ever held. Keep your hearts ready, because what you are about to hear is not just words, it is a spiritual invitation to embrace the extraordinary life God has been preparing for you. The new beginning is here. Are you ready to receive it?